Sorry about the picnic. I hope to be up and around in the next day or two. So I'm going to have you read about oral assessment. I'm changing up a little bit on the schedule week to week. I don't know if you worry about that much, but we're going to do a talk with the head of the ESL for the state of Nebraska Department of Education, probably in a week after next, so on the 30th. So anyhow, authentic assessment. I like this book. I sent you a part of it just to help you out in case you're not rich. But my goal here is to, that's weird. There's a weird little thing going through there. Oh, sorry. I get distracted in my old age. Saw a picture of a tree in there. I don't know where that came from. So chapter 4, oral assessment. And you're going to see some things in there that are really handy dandy little outfits called oral assessment language. I had one of these on a folder I used to use in Lexington years ago. I don't know if people used it, but you can rate people. And here's on page, I think this is page 67. It has this little rubric here, right here. And as you can see, it says things like communicates competently. It has level 6 up there. You can see it. And all the way down at the bottom, begins to name concrete objects like, book or understands little or no English. Okay, so if I tested this group and I wanted to test you in Tagalog, I know that I think it's this group. I might have somebody who's fluent, and then I would have others that don't understand anything at all. So you could almost look at this and predict how you would do if you've studied Spanish, but you're not at all fluent in it, or you haven't studied it in a while. Look at number 4, initiates and sustains a conversation with descriptions and details, speaks with occasional hesitation, uses complex sentences, applies rules of grammar, but lacks control of irregular tenses. I'd say in Spanish, I'm at a 4 maybe. I can certainly talk about most things. I have to rephrase things a little bit, and I'm talking about regular Spanish. Now, if we were to get into a really rapid social conversation, I wouldn't have number 5 at all. I wouldn't be able to do that. Although at times I might be able to go up to number 5. But I'm in the 4 maybe, occasionally in the 3. So you probably rate me a 4. That's pretty much my ego telling me that. I do know a little French, but if I were to talk in French, I would be barely at maybe number 2. If you see number 2 there, it says, well, maybe not number 2, but I would have a few things I could do. I'd be slightly into number 2, barely in French. So you could kind of measure yourself. And if you've learned a second language, or you had learned a language when you're younger and haven't used it too much lately, then you might rate yourself a little lower. Why do I like this? You don't have to go find some company to do this for you. In fact, oral analysis by a professional company would be quite expensive because you must record the conversation, and then somebody has to literally sit one-on-one and listen to it and then give you a grade. That is expensive because it's very time consuming. Machines can't do that. People have to do it. So oral proficiency is certainly a very important in foreign language instruction. It is established. Spanish teachers, I'm sure French and probably German, all of these more common foreign languages probably have professional companies and ways to measure. But you could use something like this and make a good measurement. Now, I bet that you have probably very rarely ever have been evaluated by your oral proficiency. As I mentioned, it's not something schools are going to pay money for to do that. I think ELPA does something in this area. We'll find out when we talk to the, I wasn't really thinking about ELPA right now, but we'll find out more about it next, in a couple of weeks. What I think is very valuable about oral proficiency is you can do these tests right there in class, you know. Just ask a student a question, you know. You have a student and you say things like open the window, simple commands. You can measure those. If I were in a Spanish class and I wanted somebody to do things, I say, abre la ventana, por favor. Open the window, you know. And of course, if you haven't studied Spanish or can't remember any, you can just look at me. I remember a girl years ago in my class in high school. She wasn't that great at Spanish, but Mr. B, our Spanish teacher, said to her, he said, abre la ventana, Beth. And Beth went up, she walked right up to the window and she said, hola ventana, ¿cómo está? You get it? She thought he said, talk to the window, hable a la ventana, instead of abre la ventana. So she didn't hear that one little consonant sound. I thought it was funny as heck, you know, when people make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes in language should be a source of joy and enjoyment. It shouldn't be stress. So if you're working with a little kid and you just work with them every day, basic things, you know, take out your book, you know, and you have protocol and kids get used to it and they've heard you say, take out your book or take out your colors or close your desk and things like that. And they know the command forms. Those are not hard to learn, really. If you're in an environment and you're given a certain set of oral commands, and it's obviously repetition is very important. Think about it as a little kid. My little grandson says, what's that? What's that? He said, Grandpa, pretty clearly to me today, the other day. So I was really impressed. He still isn't saying Dr. Tracy, but you know, he'll get it. You can use one of these rubrics, and I'm not going to drag it out now and show you the book again, but I do want you to glance through chapter 4. Now, the value in chapter 4 is that it's authentic assessment, which is the title of the book, but it's useful. It really helps you make your language class, your English class, or even your French or Spanish class, makes it very, you know, you can tell people, and you get a feeling. I mean, you know, when you deal students and you teach them day after day, you know when they're getting things. You don't have to have a formal test. You can actually recall and say, oh yeah, he knows, assuming behavior's okay, he knows when it's time to sit down. And if I tell him take out your notebook, you know, and he knows when to write or she knows when to do something, no problem. Okay. So this chapter is not complicated. It's kind of long, but it has a lot of rubrics. And I mentioned a word in here in the phrase or in the announcement. I use the word formative. Formative assessment is when you're in the process of teaching and you do quick little checks and you say, oh, he knows how to capitalize his sentence. If you're doing writing, you know, assessment, that's important. You know how to capitalize the first word in a sentence or maybe something more complicated. Or you notice a student has problems with conjugating, doesn't know the past perfect, which is, you know, there are a lot of tenses if you study them in other languages. I never quite got the subjunctive and the future hypothetical subjunctive because in Spanish, because the subjunctive in English, the form has disappeared. If you didn't know that, the only part of it left really is, people always say this, they say, if I was a rich man, I would pay for everybody to have a free meal at lunch, okay? And you probably think that's great of me, but I'm not gonna do that. But I said technically it's always been, if I were a rich man, I would pay for everybody to have lunch. But in the process of speaking English and English speakers, we've changed it, and the war has disappeared. I will always correct people, but nobody cares because most speakers just ignore that. That's an English teacher's paranoia, you know, a little fearful there. So those are some of the things I wanted to bring up. I like the oral. I think it's obviously, we correct a lot of it all the time. Now, one thing is interesting is parents will a lot of times, we are very interested in kids speaking appropriate English. But a lot of times we're more interested in the accuracy of the truthfulness of their statement. So if a kid says something, you'll say, "Oh, that's not true. This is," and you'll correct whether they said something, you know, "Oh, I don't have any money," or something. You'll say, "Oh, you do have money." Okay, but you don't correct the grammar all the time. I've noticed this at times. Maybe it seems trivial to you. I always thought the parents are more interested in the kid having the right thinking than they are necessarily in the right grammar on occasion. Of course, now in this new age, truth is all hypothetical and who knows what's real, right? Okay, well, that's about all I have to say for this. But next week, I'm going to try a new thing we did in class. We had a meeting with the dean today, and he broke us into groups on Zoom. And I haven't done that, but I thought, well, this would be cool, and I could do it in my graduate class, but I may do it in our class and have you practice some things. And I thought those of you that speak Spanish or another language, particularly Spanish, because most people have had some Spanish exposure, you could practice doing a little evaluation of other people and just ask them some basic directions. Those of you that know some Spanish, or those of you who know very little Spanish, it'd be just a little exercise. I can't bring in kids into class and do that for us online, but I think you see the point. And then I could do it to a group of you. I know enough Spanish, but a native speaker would be able to be real picky. But I'm just doing oral fluency just to give a little practice. I'm really tired. It's been a long day. So we'll do something with the picnic. I don't know if you guys if you all would want to do a picnic at some time other than class time. I know I'd hate to give up class time, but a picnic would be a lot more fun if it were on a weekend or something. I know everybody works and stuff, but I could get involved with that and contribute a lot more, you know. I could bring veggies, you know, I'm not into eating beef, so pulled pork sandwiches are good, but then, I don't know, some of you might object to that. So pizza is always good, but not really. It's not really good. You've just been indoctrinated into it. So I will let you go because I am the dude, and the dude must abide. If you haven't watched The Big Lebowski, watch it. Now, it's an R-rated movie, so don't say I told you to watch a movie that had some improper language or something, but you would understand at least part of my attitude here. And I'm getting dark glasses to go with this. Thank you. Bye.